always pick the same names. I don't wanna die when it's something breaking straight. I gotta stay alive for my fucking soulmate. You can never understand, it can never be the same.
Many outside MMA would know him as Nico in the 2012 movie Here Comes the Boom, starring alongside Kevin James and Henry Winkler as a lovable man needing help to become a U.S. citizen, and in exchange trains Kevin James, a teacher, to become an MMA fighter in an effort to save the music department at his high school by making money fighting MMA. Nico's real name is Bas Rutten, El Guapo, one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time and the certified king of Pancrase. Born Sebastian Bas Rutten, February 24, 1965, in Tilburg, Netherlands, he was a sickly kid, often abused by bullies on a daily basis, until he learned to jump between treetops, eventually persuading his bullies not to follow him in fear of falling and getting hurt. At the age of 12, he became interested in the martial arts after sneaking in and seeing Enter the Dragon starring Bruce Lee. It took 2 years of convincing, but eventually his parents allowed him to study Taekwondo, picking it up very fast, even defeating adults in sparring. Then he got into a street fight with his worst bully, knocking the bully out with one punch, breaking his nose, which prompted the police to visit his home, with his parents prohibiting him from practicing martial arts. But Rutten had a list of his bullies and eventually beating them up one at a time. At the age of 21, he became a chef for 4 years of culinary school, but he also was back training, eventually becoming a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo and a second-degree black belt in Kyokushin Karate. He was also a bouncer and a model, where he began kickboxing. He had 16 kickboxing bouts with a record of 14-2, with two losses were controversial. Rutten began his MMA career at Fighting Network Ring's Holland Dojo, where he focused on learning the basics of the art of mixed martial arts. Then in 1993, while scouting for fighters for their hybrid wrestling organization, Pancrase, Japanese wrestlers Masakatsu Funaki and Minoru Suzuki chose Rutten after seeing him KO the ring's champ in a sparring competition. Pancrase was the precursor to MMA, having no closed fist strikes to the face, and had quite a few early MMA legends joining, including Ken and Frank Shamrock, Vernon White, Maurice Smith, and Guy Messer. This is where Bas Rutten would perfect his most dangerous attack, the liver shot, where in a punch or kick, he targeted an opponent's liver, causing mass damage and pain, causing an opponent to tap out due to the pain. He also became famous for his victory celebration, a high split kick at each of the four sides of the ring. Bas Rutten stated he did this after winning his first Pancrase fight, so he continued doing it, and it's now known as the Rutten Jump. He won his first two Pancrase matches, but his third against Pancrase founder Masakatsu Funaki was his first loss, with Funaki being a much better ground fighter, causing Rutten to tap out to a toehold. Rutten then focused on his ground game, and it paid off with a victory by submission over Yoshiki Takahashi with an inverted heel hook, thus breaking Takahashi's shin bone, and earned Rutten an honorary 5th Dan black belt in Kyokushin Budokai by John Blooming. Rutten then beat the co-founder of Pancrase, Minoru Suzuki, with a liver shot that sent Suzuki. Rutten stated this was one of his happiest moments ever. He then had his first of two losses to Ken Shamrock, who he never defeated in MMA. Then in the first King of Pancrase tournament, Rutten lost controversially to Frank Shamrock, who suffered a broken nose in the fight. He had a win or two, then faced Ken Shamrock for a second time, losing due to a knee bar, with Rutten stating he was trained by Funaki to escape the knee bar by spinning in the opposite direction, giving Shamrock a tighter hold. Rutten believed Funaki wanted him to lose to Shamrock. This loss saw Rutten training 2 to 3 times daily on nothing but submissions, which paid off. Seeing Rutten defeat Bouquet, Smith, and DeLucia by submission, he then faced Frank Shamrock once again, this time winning by decision, which won him a fight against the King of Pancrase, Minoru Suzuki, and Rutten beat Suzuki with a guillotine choke, making him tap out. He defeated a couple more fighters before facing Frank Shamrock once again, who would be the interim King of Pancrase champion. Rutten won by TKO, unifying the King of Pancrase belts. He then defeated DeLucia again before facing Masakatsu Funaki in what is now considered the greatest Pancrase match in history. He eventually won with a KO, becoming a 3-time King of Pancrase. This is Rutten's description of the fight. Before the fight, he came to me. He made the thumb over the neck, throat slashing motion, like I was going down. I turned to my manager and said, okay, I'm going to kill this guy. You watch. I really wanted to destroy him. I broke his cheekbones. I broke his nose, just because he said he was going to kill me. Oh, I was so angry at him. But afterwards, friends again. What a crazy sport this is, huh? He brought his Pancrase undefeated streak to 19, leaving Pancrase as one of the most dominant fighters in the history of Pancrase. He made the cover of Karate Bushido in 1997, the oldest European magazine, joining martial arts legends such as Bruce Lee, Van Damme, Rickson Gracie, Jackie Chan, Fedor Emelianenko, among others. In 1998, Rutten signed with the UFC and was called the world's greatest martial artist on his entry into the UFC. He won his first bout against Kasaka at UFC 18, and at UFC 20 won by split decision against Kevin Randleman to become UFC heavyweight champion. The story behind the KO of Kasaki is Rutten saw his corner worried that he was getting behind. Rutten said, don't worry, let me know when there's a minute and I'll knock him out. And John McCarthy heard it. And when there was a minute left, McCarthy said 1 minute, and 10 seconds later, Bas Rutten had KO'd Kasaka. Bas Rutten then vacated the heavyweight championship later that year to train for the light heavyweight, but due to a few major injuries, he was forced to retire from MMA, doctor's orders. He became a commentator for Pride Fighting, a role he excelled in, a great color commentator, one of the best in my book. Rutten became the first European to make UFC Hall of Fame in 2015 in the Pioneers wing of the Hall of Fame. Rutten's last fight was a victory in 2006, bringing his record to 28 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. He competed for a few years in professional wrestling in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Rutten's fighting style was deceptively technical, even though the aggression from being trained in Muay Thai, Karate, and Taekwondo was evident in his striking. But to become well-rounded, he pursued a ground game, which he pursued vehemently. He was a 5th Dan black belt in Kyokushin Karate and a 2nd Dan black belt in Taekwondo, as well as a certified instructor of Pancrase. Frank Shamrock had this to say: his kickboxing intimidated other fighters, and said his kickboxing was devastating. It was something everybody feared. He also had that street fighter mentality. Rutten favored push kicks to imbalance an opponent before pounding them with palm strikes and body punches, with his most devastating punch or kick hitting the liver, able to hit it with surgical precision, often incapacitating his opponent. Rutten said bouncing helped his fighting in Pancrase due to the fact he always used open palm strikes to protect his hands against hitting heads while bouncing. His ground game, mostly self-taught, was based on Pancrase shoot wrestling, or what's known as catch wrestling in the West, focusing on leg locks and chokes, as well as a solid submission defense, which helped him in many high-level bouts. Rutten was inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame in 2018, was 2015 UFC Hall of Fame, UFC heavyweight champion, the first Dutch champion, UFC Fight of the Night versus Kosaka, undefeated 2-0 in UFC. Pancrase, he was King of Pancrase openweight champion, had 2 title defenses, and unified the King of Pancrase openweight championship. And Sherdog Mixed Martial Arts Hall of Fame in 2014. Fight Matrix had him the 1996 Fighter of the Year. His professional record was 28 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, with 11 wins by KO, 14 wins by submission, and 3 wins by decision. He'd been in quite a few games, shows, and movies. He's been a U.S. citizen for 20 years and now lives in Austin, Texas. Bas has also written a few books and has DVD training with Bas Rutten. El Guapo, Bas Rutten, King of Pancrase and one of MMA's greatest of all time. I'm Big Duke 6 from CoolKegs Studios, and this is my Legends of MMA. Please subscribe, hit the noti bell. Hell, even comment, like. I'd appreciate it. And remember, Stay honorable, yet stay strong. Until next time, my friends.
A colleague of mine is having some issues with his girlfriend. Pricey came up with a fight between Steven Seagal and Bas Rutten.
Yeah, without a doubt, that's the short answer. Bas Rutten all the way. So I'm sorry, girlfriend, you're wrong. I will slap him, pop, 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 pop in the face, grab his ponytail, maybe a headbutt here and there, and I fold him up. No doubt.